Okay, so this show is a lot better than I was expecting it, but I don't think it's the end-all be-all greatest thing that's ever come out like a lot of people on Twitter are saying.
It's like a zoo, but the animals got out.
This ship collected 5 different life forms from the darkest corners of the universe. Monsters.
As you guys can see, yeah, back in the old studio, we've moved some stuff around. New studio didn't quite work out. You know, stuff happens. Before we continue on the review, if you want to support the channel, please leave a like. Even a dislike will help us break through the algorithm. Comment, share this video, talk about this channel, anything to help out. We just passed 1,000 subs. Thank you to everyone who helped, and let's get on with the review. So, Alien Earth, a prequel to the original 1979 Alien. Correction. A third prequel to the original 1979 Alien. I did not have a lot of hope for this because getting a little burnt out on the prequels, But one thing was kind of keeping me interested, and that was the fact that Noah Hawley was working on this. He made the incredible first and second season of Fargo, and he also made the show Legion. I've only seen the first season of that, but it was a pretty good show from what I saw. So it's like, okay, if anyone can do this, it might be this Noah Hawley guy. The thing I was a little concerned about was it was going to be Game of Thrones, and you got the alien peppered in like once every other episode. And so, after watching the show, how was it? Well, it's a little bit like Game of Thrones with the alien peppered in every other episode. Shit. Now, I actually did like it for the most part, but I did have a lot of problems with it. So, one of the things I absolutely loved was the production quality / production designer or director or whoever they are. Bravo. I mean, this thing was impressive. It felt like they squeezed every penny they had and got the most out of every penny they had. I mean, from the film quality in some of the episodes feeling like it's from 1979 to the recreation of the old tech to some of the new tech that feels properly retro antique, unlike some of the Ridley Scott prequels where it's just like, hey, let's just have full digital displays and make this feel like Apple Store, okay? This properly felt like retro technology, and I loved it. And just, this didn't feel like a half-ass attempt. This felt like it could properly exist in the same universe that 1979's Alien or 1986's Aliens exists in. And it's the star of the show, in my opinion. And for the most part, the story setup is pretty good. There was kind of 2 focal points. One is this group of kids that are put into android bodies. They're the first hybrids in existence, merging human consciousness with machinery. And then the other story is a Weyland-Yutani ship unrelated to the kids. They're on a deep space mission collecting specimens from around the universe, and they're on their way back to Earth, and they mysteriously crash land into one of the capital cities that belongs to the corporation that is doing this experiment with these hybrid kids. So I like that it was focused on kind of those two, and the two do intersect at one point without getting into too many spoilers. But the problem with the story is there's a lot of missed opportunities with this story that the show just never really capitalizes on. So, case in point, the trailers insinuated that there was going to be like a race against time with these alien life forms getting out on Earth. It kind of felt like the entire focal point of the trailers. And it's not really an issue in the show. I mean, there's like one point where it's like this could get out of hand fast, and if we don't act fast, and then in like the blink of an eye it's like, oh yeah, we got everything contained, it's fine. It's like, oh, okay, I could have milked that a little bit more. The other thing that was kind of a missed opportunity was the rivalry between Kirsch and Morrow. there's a little bit of a tease with this in the show, and when they do kind of tease it, it's kind of interesting, but they never, again, really capitalize on it, and that felt like something that could be really fun and satisfying, and it's just like, oh, okay, so that's over. And then, like, the concept of putting a human conscious inside a robot's body, there's so many places they could have gone with that, and they just kind of really don't. They could have explored, like, the psychological toll it has on the person doing the transplant. It could have had, you know, the philosophical aspects of it. They could have gone into the more aspects of it. Is the person actually still there, or is it, like, just some soulless copy of them? And they could have gone into, like, what is the soul? They don't really do any of this. They kind of lightly tease around it a little bit, but they don't really do anything with it, and it's just a huge missed opportunity. Another thing that was a missed opportunity was the boy genius. I think his name was Cavalier. He's the owner of Prodigy, which is, like, the newest of these massive corporations that rule all of Earth. And there's, like, 5, and Earth is divided up into, like, 5 zones. The world building is actually pretty good in this show. I will give it credit there. And I liked some of the world building where it's like, yeah, Earth is owned by these 5 corporations, and the youngest of the corporations is this corporation, Prodigy. And they hype up this boy genius trillionaire, but he doesn't feel like a genius. He just feels like a brat that just has a tantrum whenever he doesn't get his own way. And it's like, you know, you could have done something interesting with him, have it where everyone underestimates him, and he's actually so smart, it's terrifying. They don't do this, okay? He just feels like a sniveling brat most of the time. And, I mean, I've just seen that archetype done so much in recent years with movies, games, and TV shows that it's just boring at this point. Stop giving me the sniveling, bratty millionaire and give me someone who's, like, actually terrifying. It's like you don't want them to have money because they are so freaking smart that they could just talk their way out of any situation. We're not getting anything like that for a while, and honestly, it's getting old. And then, like, another thing that when they, like, lightly teased it was interesting, but they did nothing with it, was the whole corporate warfare espionage angle. Like, show me this Cold War brewing between all of these corporations, the corporate espionage. But they don't really do that. You get a little bit in a show, but not nearly enough to where it would be interesting. And then, like, one of the biggest issues with the show is the fact that, like, the Xenomorph doesn't really feel that important to this show. I mean, that's one of the hiccups with, like, oh, instead of it being one species, the Xenomorph, there's 5. And that could work, but the problem is some of the other species, especially this, like, octopus thing, takes up way too much of the spotlight. And the Xenomorph just kind of feels like a side character in its own franchise. Now, maybe that was intentional, trying to, like, expand where it's like, look, it's not always about the Xenomorph. But you did have it enough in the show, and, like, the way it's treated, I'm not saying it's exactly like this, but imagine if it's like, oh yeah, we got plenty of those, they're on this island, and, you know, I mean, they're cool, but, you know, we're more focusing on this. It's kind of how the Xenomorph felt, and Xenomorph's supposed to be a big deal when it enters the room, okay? Like, when it comes in a room, people are dying, and your species might be extinct in a day, you know, like, that's how serious of an issue the Xenomorph is supposed to be. It doesn't feel like that in this show. And then, like, the other 4 species, apart from one, they don't really do a lot or get a lot of screen time, and it's just like, what are these? I mean, you're focusing a lot on this one, but you're not focusing on any of these other 4. And I understand one of the other 4 is the Xenomorph. We know it quite well. But in context of the story, they don't know it. It's just like, oh, okay, that's cool. Let's look at this thing now. And it could have worked. I felt it didn't work. And then, like, mild spoiler, I'm not going to reveal anything earth-shattering, but like one of the things with getting the hybrid kids into the crash ship scenario, it's like, hey, let's just do a test run and let's just throw them into this hostile environment without ever doing anything else with them but having them run around and play on an island. It doesn't work in context of the story. If they had just spent another 5 minutes and show them like, hey, we're going to have you interacting with people in this test run, okay? Now we're going to do a test run of you in a crowd, and then we're going to do a test run of you lending medical assistance in a hospital, and like just doing all of these different tests, like real world tests, to see how they work. It would have made it a little bit more believable if it's like, look, there's this crash ship, let's send the hybrids. Like, that's a bit excessive, but we've already been doing tests. Instead, this is like, yeah, this is the first test, and it just feels out of place, if I'm being completely honest. And then in terms of like the cast is okay. Like, everyone on Twitter has been screaming about Murrow. I've seen some posts on the site like screaming he's the GOAT, and like, you know, there's no other character better than him, he's the greatest of all time, oh my gosh, he's such an amazing character. It's like, okay, calm down, he's okay. He's not a terrible character, he's not an amazing character, he's fine. I mean, I didn't think he was that amazing of a character. I'll definitely watch him again in another story, but I'm not going to be biting my nails in anticipation like some of these people on Twitter seem like they are. I mean, I thought he was okay. Now, on the other hand, this kid was freaking awesome in this show. I don't know who this actor is, but he did an amazing job in this show. And he didn't have a lot of screen time, but man, did he just kill it in every scene he was in. And then like the girl playing Wendy, who's like the main character of the show, I will say that one of the issues with the Alien franchise is they've kind of painted themselves in a corner, and they feel like they can only do female leads for any story in this franchise, which, okay, I get. I'm not saying you can't not always do a female lead. I would say maybe you should try expanding horizons, have a couple stories with a male lead, but I'm not going to kick and moan if you never do a male lead. But at the very least, can we stop getting Ripley clones? You're not going to top Ripley, okay? So if you're doing a female character, stop doing Ripley. Most of the Alien franchise that doesn't include Ripley has Ripley clones. There's a couple of times they got a little bit away from being Ripley, I would say, with like Noomi Rapace with Prometheus, but like Alien vs. Predator Requiem, flat out shameless Ripley clone. Alien Covenant, shameless Ripley clone. And in my review for Alien Romulus, I was saying that the character of Rain didn't feel like a Ripley clone, but watching it a couple more times, it's like, yeah, she's a Ripley clone. So maybe I might eat my words with this, but I do kind of feel like Wendy doesn't feel like a Ripley clone because she's a child trapped in a robot's body, and she doesn't feel like Ripley. She feels like a kid going, what's that? What's this? She has a very, joyful optimism about her, something that Ripley never had. And so I think I could safely say that she's not a Ripley clone here. But like, one of my biggest issues with this show is that there's some serious pacing issues with this show. Episode 1 and 2, fast paced, fantastic, very well done. Episode 3, partway through, it just comes to a crawl. Episode 4, a slog to get through. It was just slow paced. Episode 5, pretty solid in terms of pacing. Episode 6 went back to a crawl. Episode 7, a little bit better. Episode 8, pacing was okay. And so it was just this roller coaster of inconsistent pacing that just didn't work for me with the show. And then another thing I didn't like with the show was kind of how it ended. I mean, it ends on a cliffhanger, and if they had just spent like another 10 minutes, they could have had a more satisfying stopping point without like making it final. You could have still had it open for like a sequel, but I felt like they should have brought it to a better stopping point. And then this is just a little pet peeve of mine. It's not that serious, but seriously, no Colonial Marines still. We've only had one movie that's had Colonial Marines in them, and that's the original 1986's Alien. It's such an iconic part of the universe, the Colonial Marines, and I got a little excited when I was seeing, you know, soldiers like working with smart guns and pulse rifles. And it's like, no, those aren't Colonial Marines, those are search and rescue. Completely different branch of, you know, military. It's like, look, can we just get some Colonial Marines, please? So anyway, yeah, that's been my review of Alien Earth. Did I like it? Yeah, I thought it was okay. I had some serious issues with it. You know, like, one thing that just made no sense was the inclusion of rock music at the most awkward of times to end the show. It's like, I felt none of them really fit. Yeah, in the end, I did like Alien Earth. It was okay, but I felt it did have some serious problems. I definitely would watch a season 2, but definitely I need to see some better writing and some improvements with the show with season 2, because I felt like they didn't want to take any real risks with this show. So anyway, that's been my review of Alien Earth. My name is Chris Connell with 11 Hour Reviews, and that will be all for today.